Let's pray. Let's rise again. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Sancta Michael Arcangelo, defende nos in premio, contra nequitiam et insidias diaboli, est presidium, imperet illi Deus, supplicens te precamur, tuque princeps militiae celestis, Satana, aliosque spiritus malignos, qui ad perditionem animarum propagantur in mundo, divina virtute in infernum decidim. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Right. Take out, please, your 9G. Again, it's the last homework of the chapter. Going over long division. Tomorrow is going to be a practice test. Josh is here over there, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's here.
All right. Oh, wait. So, I have 9G out. I want to check that off right away. I'll start on the front row here. I did not. Okay. There should. Yes, I did. You can watch the video on this and get the answers. I'm going to check this out to normal. Same thing. I'll just check what this out. All right, Jenna, what you got?
I left my math book out.
Get it tomorrow? Last chance. Shoot, speed up, my friend.
Wait, what?
Okay, homework? I'll be back. Keep getting it out.
I've left my book when I go to bed. Oh, maybe that's what she was talking about.
There's the fire alarm.
Yeah.
I was like, I said I'm like, what was that one?
No, I think, well, she said like 5 times.
Let's see.
I just said hi.
Hey, bro, what's up?
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. See you around.
All right. Grab a red writing utensil. Have it at the ready. Answers for 1G. Here we go. We just had number 6 and 7. Gentlemen, we're starting. You have a pen ready to correct your homework. You have your homework in front of you. Correct? You have a pen?
I was allocating someone for a red pen.
Okay. I have one up here if you have something. So, number 6. Here we go. I'm going to be giving you the answers. Some of these have actually, wow, none of them have remainders. How did they do that?
None?
Absolutely none of them had remainders. So, okay. Number 6, part A, the answer is 2x plus 3. 6b, there are 3 terms, x squared plus negative 3x plus 1. repeats so far. Okay, number 7. Part A, 5x plus 8. 5x plus 8. Number 7b, x squared plus 4x plus negative 6. Kind of disappointed they didn't do it in remainders. Yeah.
I know you don't necessarily want us to do it, but is it fine if we get x squared plus 4x minus 6?
That's fine. Yeah. I will not take out points for that. I might look at you funny, but hang on.
I'm sorry.
Numbers, everybody good to 7a and b? All right, 7c, 3x plus negative 7. 3x minus 7 is fine. Number 7d, x squared plus negative 2x plus 4. 7e, 2x plus negative 3. And 7f, x squared, I'll accept two different answers. X squared plus 5 is fine, or x squared plus 0x plus 5 is also okay. Any repeats on the whole thing? Yeah, okay. Any repeats? Yeah. Repeat 7b. X squared plus 4x plus negative 6. Any other repeats? Alrighty. Questions? Yeah.
Could you do 7e?
7e is an anchor? Yeah. Others? Got it. 7e, yeah, yes. This one, they wanted to see if they could fool you. If I do this on the test, which is possible, let me show you how to get out of this pit that they dug for you. You notice they're missing some terms. X cubed plus 7. Dividing into, oh man, a lot of this big. 2,
No, my pen. Can you hear me? My pen cap.
they're missing a term. You see what they skipped? Yeah.
The 0x.
Yeah, they missed the x squared. You physically need to fill in any missing terms. Not because it's all that important for value, but because if you don't have that in, all these things are going to stop lining up. And then the division becomes impossible. Ditto here. This becomes x cubed plus, let me see what's missing. Yeah. 0x squared and 0x plus 7. And then rewrite this whole thing. 2x to the 4th plus negative 3x cubed plus 0x squared. Again, I'm not so excited about the 0, but I want the space to be covered. If you miss a space, or if they're not in the right columns, they'll actually start adding the wrong numbers in the wrong column, and you get the wrong answer when you're done, which is irritating. So, can somebody start me off on this thing? What's the step? That's the key step. If they're missing any steps, go for it.
Well, I have a question. Since
Yeah.
I wasn't here, why do we add numbers? Like, why do we add the x's and stuff?
What do we add instead of what?
Well, why do we add them? Because I'm kind of confused. I wasn't here for the last
At
time.
the opposite.
So.
Are you talking about adding the opposites or just adding? period?
No, not like adding like plus, but why are we putting in like 0x squared? And
Oh,
0x?
why are we, by adding, you don't mean this, you mean by putting in something that wasn't there? Yeah, part of the reason, they have to line up. If they don't line up, in multiplication is just annoying, but not bad. Like if I had, x squared plus 2, let's try this. Don't write this down, but x cubed plus 2x plus 1 over x plus 3. If I multiply this, you notice they're missing something? Like what term are they missing? Yeah. 0x to the second. There's supposed to be a 0x to the second here. Now, could we get by without it for multiplication or addition or subtraction? Yeah. For division, division has to line up. Because if you have this row in the wrong row, it's going to add up the wrong numbers, and you're actually get the wrong answer. That's why. So when you're doing division, I agree that this is kind of annoying, but you have to fill in all the blank zeros. Otherwise, the answer will actually be wrong 90% of the time. So this one, we have all the blanks filled in with zeros. Now, can somebody give me the technique? Once this is done, it's just regular division. It's big, but believe it or not, it's actually a short answer. How do you start? Where do you start? Andy, what do you look at first?
The ones divided into the
Yeah.
bar.
How many digits does it have?
4.
4. You notice it's kind of like a 4-digit number? Does that go into 1?
No.
No. Leave this blank. Does it go into 2? No. Leave that blank. Does it go into 3?
No.
No. Every single one of these, I'm going to put a phantom 0 here, phantom 0 here, phantom 0 here. In other words, don't write anything there. There's nothing. So the answer is going to be pretty small. Does 4 go into 4? Yeah. What do you look for to see how many times it actually does go in? What does your brain look at, and what does this look at?
The first one.
Right. The first and the
First.
first. First and the first. The first term into the first term. How many times does x cubed go into 2x to the 4th? Let me see, Rosie.
I don't know, let's find out.
Good answer. I don't know, let's find out. How do you set up the fraction?
It's 24,
I know what you mean. 2x to the 4th over.
Over x.
What do you actually get when you do that?
2x.
Good. 2x. Let me see what? 3 of the x's canceled. Where do I put that?
Above 14x.
Right. That's the first open slot. 2x goes here. Take over or jack over. What do you do with the 2x? Kind of, sort of. What do you do with it, though? Like mathematically? Look at here. Like for normal division, when you have something up here, what's the next step? Multiply. Good. What's 2x times x cubed? 2x to the 4th. Nice. Everybody see why? Everybody comfortable with getting the powers like that? This is a single x being multiplied to 3 x's. So the 4x total multiplied. Plus what? Keep going. I'm sorry? 0x to the second. Well, actually 0x to the 0x to the third. Let me see why? Because there are 2 already here and 1 coming in. Plus what? Good. 0x second plus is actually a 1 that's not 0. 2x times 7 is 14x times 7. Any questions so far? You think you could do that on a test on Friday? Isabella, take over. What do you do with this row? And yeah, I apologize for the tower in front of you there. So what's that?
You add it, but you have to add the opposite.
Yes, how many opposites? Instead of subtracting, I add the
Well, you add it to the 2's.
2's. Anything else?
The zeros.
Zeros, and
And
negative 14. Everything. All the row. If I'm subtracting the whole row, I'm adding the opposite, 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 all the way down. Does that make sense? If I'm subtracting all of these, I'm adding all of their opposites. So do opposite, 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 opposite. Now this is a little bit dumb, not our fault. But if they say 0 and I say negative 0, what is negative 0? Yeah, it's 0, yeah. So I actually did that in the first year algebra class 2 schools ago. Where we were taking square roots and you're supposed to have 2 answers. Like, what's the square root of 16? Right. Or, there's another one. Negative 4. Because 4 times 4 is 16. Negative 4 times negative 4 is also 16. But, and they said, what's the square root of 0? And they said 0. And I said, or negative 0. And they were like, isn't that 0? Yeah. So that's the only number where you don't have to worry about that. But these are kind of dumb, but run with it. So go ahead as well. What's 2x to the 4th plus negative 2x to the 4th?
4x, 2.
This is negative now.
2x,
So 2 plus negative 2 is
2. Wait,
0.
0. Okay, so
Good.
They
They cancel, correct. What about these?
Um,
And negative 0 is just 0, so don't let that freak out.
so
It doesn't do a lot.
3x.
Say again?
3x?
Almost.
Or negative 3x.
Negative 3x to the third. Good. Keep going.
And then those
Wow, that's
cancel
exciting.
each other out.
Yeah, sort of, kind of. Now I still need a term there just to fill the gap. What would I put?
So
That looks
put
dumb.
0x squared.
Yeah, let me see why I'm doing that. Normally I'd say, why waste your time? But I do need a placeholder. It's kind of like, is there a difference between this number and this number? Yeah, way back when, you heard 0 as a placeholder. If you doubt that there's a difference between this, tell you what, I will pay you the bottom amount of money and you pay me the top amount of money and we'll see who gets done. I mean, I'll be able to retire in about like 100 times. Like, we'll do this every day for all my classes. I like this lesson. It's great. So keep this in here just because it's a placeholder. Keep going.
And
Plus.
then those cancel each other out.
Yes. So I still need a placeholder.
So the 0x.
Yeah. It's goofy looking, I agree. To it. Take over John. What do I do now?
I don't know.
Read it over. Don't unplug.
Cross
In
out.
division, hold on. We carry this down, 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 down. There are 4 digits. I only have 3 so far. What do we do now?
Get rid of, or get the 7 now?
There's something I gotta do first.
Get 21 down?
Yeah, bring the 21 down. Plus negative 21. So, what do I look at here? What does your brain look at? What's the only term you pay attention to?
7.
Not the 7. That's the last term.
X?
I don't.
Eric.
The first
The first term and the first term. Take a pen, write that down. First of all, you need a pen in your hand. And write that down. The first term into the first term. Eric, help me out. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Let's go for it. Sure. So, how many times does x cubed go into negative 3x cubed?
3 times. Or I don't know.
Exactly. Let's do it. Tell me what the fraction looks like.
It's 3x squared over x.
Don't reduce it yet, just write it.
3x, negative 3x
Okay, over.
over x cubed.
Good. So what happens?
The x's cancel each other. and
Correct.
it's 3.
Yep,
Negative 3.
negative 3. So up here you put plus negative 3. What do you do with that? What do you do with the negative 3? Once you put it up here, what's its purpose? Take over Frank. Multiply. Go ahead. What's negative 3 times this? Okay. Plus. Good. Plus. Okay. Good. What do I do with this row? Right. Add the opposite, 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 opposite. Every second. What happens there? Cancel. How about here? This is boring. Cancel. Cancel. And cancel. What's left? Nothing. 0. Do you have to put plus 0 over blah, 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 blah? No. There's no remainder to this. Does that make sense? Again, the quick micro steps here. First, fill in any missing placeholder gaps. If they skipped a power, you gotta fill it in. Division is the only time you have to do that, pretty much. Quick question, yeah.
Do we have to like bring it over to the side and make a mini division problem?
Oh, do you have to bring it over to the side and make the mini division problem? The short answer to that is yes. Could you theoretically do it in your head? Yes, you could. There are some problems where it would be a nightmare to try and do it in your head. Because sometimes, like in second year algebra, we're gonna get, like that one problem we did in here, you're gonna get fractions as answers here, which are, oh my word. I mean, I start breaking into a cold sweat in some of those. So, does that kind of make sense? So short answer is do it for now. If you can do it in your head, great. Use that to double check your work.
So when we're doing like -3 times like 0x, do you want us to write -0x?
-0x, it's a good habit to get into. Otherwise, I've seen people in the past in other schools say, well, for 0, I'm just gonna stop writing the opposites. And then they forget to do the opposite on the next real number, like the actual non-zero number. They just said, I'll do opposites, and then I don't have to worry about it. And then they get the last one wrong. So it's better to get into the habit, even if it doesn't do much. Any other questions? That's good questions. Okay.
Can you do
7C. Let me see. Yes. This is another one that, let me see if I can squeeze it in. I can carry the book now. Here's 7C. This was 7D, right? Or no, 7E. So 7C looks like this. X squared minus 4x. Dividing into, I did that for a reason. 3x cubed minus 19x squared plus 28x. I gave you a few hints up there. Does anybody see anything missing? It should be there. Even if, yeah.
The 0x.
Yeah. We've got x to the second, and we've got x to the first, so we got the irregular x's covered. What would be here?
0x.
The x's, I don't need an x.
Oh.
Plus, but I do need
The 0?
0, a regular number. Because it's always, it's kind of like this. It goes to third power, second power, first power, regular number. Same thing here. Second power, first power, regular number. It's technically x to the 0, but we don't have to write that. Anything else missing? Hint? Yes. Go.
0 and yeah.
Correct. Plus the regular 0 here.
I didn't like add those in, but I still got the right answer.
Okay, that's called lucky. The reason is that's called winning the lottery level lucky. Why? Because the exact thing that was missing in this was missing here. It's kind of like saying, but I don't think I've ever gone hunting in my life. I shot one rat once because it was eating our grain, and because I think it was scaring the cats because the rat was like this big. They grow really, really
Yeah,
big.
I know.
I'll tell you about it later. But let's just say you're aiming at something that's moving. So let's say you're aiming at a.
A subtraction
Like a
sign.
Did I ever tell you the story of why I hate partridge? Or no, it's a ruffled grouse. I don't know what it was, but I hate the bird. I'm pretty sure it was a partridge. Okay? It was partridge. Oh, I'll take 2 minutes. It actually does have something to do with the story problem. Partridge. I think it was a partridge. I'll look it up. If it's a ruffled grouse, I'll apologize and I'll say it tomorrow. But it's a bird that lived in I lived in Wisconsin, and I used to like to walk in the woods. My parents had a farm with about 40-acre woods, and especially in the fall when the leaves had fallen, it was nice and pretty, and then crunch, 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 crisp air, yada yada yada. I got like that. Well, there's a type of bird. The feathers look almost exactly like fallen leaves, especially when they're brown. And the way they avoid predators is they bury themselves in piles of leaves. And they just have these beady little eyes poking out, you can't see them. And they stay perfectly still until you practically step on them. Guess who was walking in the forest? Oh, nice breeze, crunch, crunch, crunch. I can't hear anything other than just crunch, crunch, wind, you know, nice and quiet. And then here's this pile of leaves right here. I don't know. I'm just walking, stroll, stroll, shuffling the leaves, shuffling the leaves, shuffling the leaves, and all of a sudden, I shuffle one last time, and this bird comes exploding out of this thing of leaves. I won't repeat what I said, but it was, I think it was kind of like matter for my next confession. And the bird went flying away, and I developed this lifelong hatred. It's like, if I ever see you again, die. So, anyway, how do I get off on this? Oh, right. It says, there was a metaphor for this. Let's just say you're aiming at a ruffled grouse because it's evil, and they all need to die, and it's moving like that, and it's sitting right there, and let's just say you accidentally aim one, like 10 degrees to the left. By the way, awfully bad. If you're the type of person who aims consistently 10 or 20 degrees to the left of your target, don't get a gun. Just seriously. Because there might be Uncle Wally sitting over there reading a book, and Uncle Wally this might not end well. So don't do that. So, but let's just say pretend that you go 20 degrees off, just as the ruffled grouse happens to fly 20 degrees in the same direction. Bam! Hey, I'm a good shot. No, you were insanely lucky. That's this. Okay, this outside. So make sure you fill in the plus, the missing terms. All right, let's do some math here. Rob, help me out here. What do you look at first? First and the first, correct. Now, one little thing to check first, how many terms are digits? 3. Does it go into 1? No. I would physically put, you know, I like to put phantom zeros because they look cool for one thing. But it also, I don't want to be fooled into thinking there's an actual number there. Can 3 digits go into 2? No. This is all, you can just leave these blank, by the way. Can 3 go into 3? Now let's try the first into the first trick. Let me see. Yeah, take over. How many times does x squared go into 3x cubed? I don't know either. Let's find out. Give me the fraction. Over x squared. What does that reduce to? 3x. Very good. Everybody see why? Because 2 of the x's cancel. I'm going to put the 3x up here. If you do it correctly, all the powers of x should line up perfectly on top and on the bottom. If they're not lined up, that means there's probably a missing term that you forgot. Does that make sense? Let me see. John, take over. What do I do with this 3x?
Multiply it by x to the second.
Go for it. What's 3x times x squared? There's a 1 here.
3x to the third.
Nice. Plus what? Oops, I forgot to add the opposite. And add the opposite. What's 3x times negative 4x?
Negative 12x.
Nice. Negative 12x to the second. Plus, what's 3x times 0?
0.
0, technically 0x. Nice. What do you do with that row?
Or add the opposite.
Nice. All the opposites. Add the opposite. What's the opposite of negative? Positive. And then, what do you do? Opposite. Go ahead and do that for me, Catherine. How about this? Cancel. Okay. What's negative 19 plus 12? Almost. Good. Negative 7 x a second plus 28x, and then technically plus 0. Nice. Josh, take over. What do you do now? So we brought down the 0, and then do what? What do you look at? You always look at what term. I've got 3 terms going into 3 terms. So which one do you look at? The first one. Always the first into the first. How many times does 1x squared go into negative 7x squared?
7 times.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, you're right, but like pretend you're not. So we've got, give me the fraction. What goes on top? What goes
Sorry,
on?
what are we?
Give me the fraction that we did for dividing this in. Like we're trying to find out how many.
One.
So what over what? Like here, I did 3x cubed over 1x squared. What am I going to do now? We're looking here. How many times does this go into this? I just want to know which one you put on top. Actually, the 7. Negative 7x squared over 1x squared. What actually happens there? Like what happens mathematically? Does anything reduce? Well, I'll write it out the long way. Negative 7 times x over 1 times x times x. Do you see anything that cancels? Like what? Yeah, does anything cancel in here? Anything on top and on the bottom will cancel if it's identical. It's kind of like 2 over 3 times 3 over 5. The 3's cancel. Yes, the x is canceled. Do you see why? An x on top and on the bottom. And then there's another x on top and bottom. Cancel. What's left? And what is 7 over 1? Do the division. What is 7 divided by 1? 7. What's negative 7 divided by 1? Negative 7 divided by 1. Bingo. Negative 7 divided by 1. Nice. Let me see. Andy, take over. What do I do with the negative 7?
You multiply it by 1x and 4x and 0.
Go for it.
This was negative 4x?
This is negative 4x, correct?
So it's negative 7x squared and negative 28.
Good save. Positive 28x and then plus 0. What do I do with the row?
You add the opposite.
Right. Add the opposite. So add the opposite. What happens?
That cancels.
Cancels. How about this? That cancels and yeah. Nothing left. You're done. Does that make sense? How much time we have? Don't have a heck of a, here's the schedule, by the way, if anybody wants to see it. Getting out at 11:15. Next. I think we have time for one more. We go fast. Any others you want to see dissected? So tomorrow we're scheduled for a practice test. You're going to take the entire hour, take the test. It's not graded. You get one shot at seeing what it would be like if you took the test without actually having your grade get impacted by it.
What if you do really well on practice test but terrible on regular test?
I mean, something funny just happened.
Yeah, but can you have the
That
good
means
grade?
you cheated on the practice.
No, sorry. The real test is the real test, but use the practice test is probably the best possible thing to study for the real test for. So if you do well on the real test, chances are, unless you have the migrating from purgatory on Friday, in which case just retake the test, you should do pretty well. Question? I'm sorry, say again. Oh, do I put vocab words on there? The people, you poor people who have to suffer through the humanities classes. That's why I'm a math teacher. No. Are there ever terms that I do ask? Yes, but you will hear them 1,000 times. For example, there are you remember factoring? We have like x squared plus 3x plus 2 and you break it into 2 parentheses. Okay, you'll find it this year. But we're gonna do that next chapter. And there are 7 methods of factoring, and then there are terms, but they're not many. That's like 4 or 5 of them, and you'll know them in your sleep. But on this test, for example, you're going to be, I think the only thing that would come close is I will say, what is a polynomial? And you'll give me 3 things. It's a sum of 1 or more terms, all the bases are the same, and all the exponents are whole numbers. And that's kind of sort of it. The vast majority of the test is going to be working problems like that. I mean, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Yeah.
You said that sometimes we like need to know like the how to do a binomial squared. Is there anything else like that? Like not vocab, just like we need to know?
Oh, okay. Binomial squared is a fancy way of multiplying. So that's like taking, you can, by the way, could you do that just by foiling? Like if you had something like this, go x plus 3 parentheses squared, could you just write that out as x plus 3, and then foil it? Yes, and you would get the right answer. And by the way, if you do get the right answer, if I just say, give me the answer, I don't really care which of the methods you use as long as it's right. I'd like you to know all the methods because every once in a while I'll say, do this by binomial squared, no credit for other methods, show your work. I'm not doing that so much this chapter. Next chapter I'm going to do that a lot because there are 7 different methods of factoring and you need to know them all. Now we have like 3 weeks to do that, so don't panic. That's for the future. But do we need to know square the first double product, square the last? That will be a test question. I will say, what are the 3 steps for a binomial squared? And you'll say, square the first double product, square the last. So you'll need to memorize that. Partially because it's so important for the next chapter, because we're going to have to do it backwards. It's actually important for the chapter after that too. It's really super duper important. So yeah, so it's rare though. But I don't think there's anything else special off the top of my head. So if you can add, if you can do the exponent rules, you know, like x to the 4th times x to the 9th, then find out x to the what? What would it be by the way? Somebody tell me. Yeah. So 13, right. And if you have x to the 4th raised to the 9th power, does anyone know what that is? Yeah. That's x to the 36th. So if you remember those exponent rules, those are reviewed from last year. That would be good. And then if you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide polynomials and know what they are, that's the chapter test. And the nice thing about the practice test tomorrow is that the real test, whatever's on the practice test, will be on the real test. There will be no surprises. I mean, extra credit maybe, so. Well, those are fair game for anything, yeah.
Is there extra credit on practice?
Is there extra credit on Is there extra credit on the practice test? Not for any credit, but I might give you a few just to tell you what kind of extra credit problems to expect. I will drop one last thing. The highest you can get on any of my tests is 105%. So you might, if you get all the extra credit right, it's probably 105%. 104.8 which I round up. Yeah.
And when you said it's going to be exactly the same chapter,
Well, I changed the numbers. It's the same format, yeah. So don't memorize the practice test in the hopes of doing the real test. So we've got a few more minutes. Hang it, hold tight, hold tight. Are there any other questions on homework? All right. As long as you stay quiet, you may converse quietly. Studying for the test would be an awesome thing to do. If you have any homeworks that you still need to turn in, now would be a good time to work. We've got about 7 minutes. If you need to check with me about anything, let me know. For the people at home, God bless you. See you soon. And